All right, everybody, welcome back for another deep dive. You know how sometimes, like, the less you say, the more impact you have?
Yeah, definitely. Sometimes, it's like the more you talk, the less people listen.
Yeah. And today, we're going to look into that. We're going deep on this one with The 48 Laws of Power
Robert Greene.
by Robert Greene.
Yeah.
Law 4, always say less than necessary. And this is a fascinating one. I've been looking forward to this one.
Me too.
So,
So I think this one's very applicable for everyone.
yeah, and it's like so counterintuitive
Yes.
to what we're told.
It is,
You know,
because we live in a society where you're always told to, speak up and make yourself heard and all that. So to kind of go against the grain on that,
Yeah.
I think it's going to be interesting for people to kind of look at this and see how it can benefit them.
Yeah, and I think sometimes, you can tell when someone's full of it because they just keep talking and talking and talking, and they never...
They never stop.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think Greene's idea here is that by saying less, you sort of create this like aura of mystery and intrigue,
Like, you got something.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
People try and fill in the blanks themselves, and, oftentimes they end up giving you more power than you may actually have.
Yeah, it's like you project all this stuff onto them because you don't know
yes.
what they're thinking.
And he uses the example of Louis XIV, the Sun King
Right.
from France, and he was very famous for, being silent, not really talking that much.
Oh.
And that kept his whole court on edge. Everyone was trying to figure out, like, what is he
Right.
thinking?
What's he going to do?
Exactly.
Wow.
And it worked very well for him.
It makes me think of, like, that saying, still waters run deep, you know? Like, you think about, like, the babbling brook
Right.
versus, like, the deep ocean.
Yeah, you assume there's a lot going on underneath the surface
Yeah.
when someone's quiet.
Yeah, and so it makes me think, like, how often do we, like, over-explain ourselves and, like, kind of
Weaken our position.
weaken...
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it happens very often.
Oh, yeah, totally. Where you're like, well,
Yeah.
I do it.
Oh, I do it all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
where you're like, I don't even know why I'm explaining this. It doesn't
Yeah.
even matter.
Right. And then you walk away and you're like, why did I say all that? You know?
Totally.
And I think by saying less, you can actually come across as more confident, more, in control.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I totally agree. I feel like there's so many times, and I'm sure like everybody listening has been in this situation where you just over-explain yourself, and it's almost like you're trying to convince yourself as much as you're trying to convince the other person.
Yeah.
And so you're just like, blah, 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 blah.
And then there's that story about Andy Warhol. He was known for his silence.
Oh, yeah.
And he said that people were more likely to do what he wanted when he stopped talking.
Wow.
Yeah, so they would just fill in the blanks and be like, oh, yeah, sure, Andy, I'll do that.
Oh, that's so interesting.
So it's really about using silence strategically.
Yeah.
It's a way of gathering information, controlling the conversation without actually saying very much.
So it's like a power move.
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely.
So it's like almost like in a negotiation or something like that.
Yeah.
You can just be quiet, and the other person
Yes.
just keeps...
You make your offer and then you just shut up.
Yeah.
And they might end up offering you more than you even wanted.
Yeah, that's fascinating.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it can be a really useful tool
yeah.
in a variety of situations.
Yeah, so then it's like, it's not about being silent all the time. It's about choosing the right moments
Exactly.
to be silent.
It's a very nuanced approach.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because like sometimes you're too quiet and then it comes off the wrong way.
exactly.
Yeah.
It can backfire.
Yeah.
You have to know when to speak up
Yes.
and when to shut up.
Yeah.
It's all about reading the room,
Yes.
understanding the situation.
The situation.
Exactly.
Yeah. And like the power dynamic of
Yeah.
who you're talking to and everything. Yeah, that's super interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're saying less,
We're saying less.
but we have more to say.
Always more to say.
So we'll be right back.
Stay tuned. It really is a nuanced approach. It reminds me of this one story that Greene tells about Kondraty Ryleyev.
Okay.
He was this Russian rebel leader,
Okay.
and he was about to be hanged,
Oh, no.
but the rope broke.
Oh.
So he's given this second chance.
Lucky guy.
You would think that he would just be grateful, right?
You would think so.
But no, he makes this sarcastic comment about the poor quality of the rope.
Oh, no.
And the Tsar, who was actually going to pardon him, heard about this and was like, no, I'm not pardoning you anymore.
Oh, my gosh. That's brutal.
So
So he just totally sabotaged himself.
he did. He really did.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it just goes to show, that saying things without thinking, especially when you're feeling emotional,
Yeah, when you're in the heat of the moment. Yeah.
it can have really, really bad consequences.
Yeah. I feel like we've all been there, like on a much smaller scale, of course. But where
Yeah.
you just say something and then you're like, I wish I could take that back.
Yeah, we've all been there.
I mean, it's like a universal human experience.
It is.
Put your foot in your mouth.
Totally.
Yeah.
So, sometimes silence really is golden.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. So it's like we were saying before, it's about finding that balance between speaking up and holding back.
Hmm.
But is there ever a time when saying less is not the best approach?
I think that's a great question. And I think the answer is yes.
Hmm.
There are definitely times when silence can actually work against you.
Okay.
Like if you have a boss who expects you to communicate clearly and openly,
Right.
if you're too quiet, they might think that you're being disrespectful or you're hiding something.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
So in those situations, you might actually need to be more vocal
Right.
to, gain their trust.
To get your point across, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And, it's interesting. Green gives another example to illustrate this point. He talks about Gnaeus Marcius Coriolanus, who is this like legendary Roman general,
Okay.
and he decided that he wanted to go into politics. He wanted to be consul.
Oh, wow. So like the top dog?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
And so he gives this initial address to the public, and he doesn't say very much. He lets his reputation speak for itself, and it works really well. People are impressed by his, silent strength.
So he was following law to a T.
Exactly. But then election day comes around,
Oh.
and he shows up with this huge entourage of senators and aristocrats,
Wow.
just like flaunting his wealth and power.
Like rubbing it in everybody's face.
Yeah, pretty much. And then he gives this long, rambling speech
Oh, no.
full of boasts about his, military victories, insulting his opponents, promising all these riches if he's elected.
Oh, so he totally like went against the grain of what he was doing before.
It did. Oh, my God.
He really messed up.
Yeah, he just went on and on.
Yeah. And people sawed right through it.
They're like, this guy's full of it. Yeah, they realized that, he wasn't this, like, noble hero.
Right.
He was just another power-hungry politician.
Yeah, just like the rest of them.
Exactly. And so they voted against him.
Oh,
And
right.
he was so bitter about this defeat that he continued to speak out against the common people,
Oh, no.
which, of course, just alienated him even more.
Made things worse.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And eventually he was banished from Rome.
Oh, that is so sad.
It's just such a classic example of how failing to control your words can really lead to your downfall.
He just could not stop talking.
He could not.
Oh, wow. That's a good lesson for all of us.
It is. It's a reminder that, mastering this art of saying less, it's not just about being silent. It's also about choosing the right words at the right time.
Right.
Knowing when to hold back.
Yeah, like reading the situation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Sometimes the most powerful statements that you can make are through your silence.
Yeah, the things that go unsaid.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, so I think we're starting to get a better grasp of like
This whole saying less thing.
this whole thing. Yeah, it's more complicated than it seems at first.
It is. It's a very delicate dance.
It is.
So.
But there's a lot of power in it.
Yeah, there is a lot of power in it.
Okay, so we've talked about the perils of saying too much, but what about the other side of that coin? Like, when does silence really shine?
Well, let's dive into that after a quick break. We'll be right back.
Yeah, it's a delicate dance for sure. But like you were saying, when does silence really shine?
Yeah, like give me an example.
Well, let's say you're in a negotiation. You make a reasonable offer, and then you just stop talking.
Okay.
You let the other person sit with that silence.
Ooh, I like that.
They're going to start overthinking,
Yeah.
They might feel the need to fill that void and end up giving you a better deal than you even asked for.
Oh, wow. So it's almost a mind game.
It is. It's like a power play.
Okay. I can see how that would be effective. Yeah, and you can use this in so many different situations. Job interviews salary negotiations, even in your personal relationships.
Okay, so it's about like knowing when to hold back and knowing when to reveal information.
Exactly. You're using your words strategically.
It's like you're playing chess with your words.
Yes. Okay.
I like that analogy.
So in this world where we're constantly bombarded with information,
Oh, yeah.
being able to hold back, to be strategic with what you say,
Yeah.
it's a very powerful skill.
Yeah, it's like the less you say, the more valuable your words become.
Exactly.
Wow.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into the power of saying less, what's the one thing you want our listeners to take away from this? Well, I would say the most important thing to remember is that silence is not just the absence of sound. It's a tool.
Okay.
It's a very powerful communication tool.
Okay.
And by mastering the art of saying less, by choosing your words carefully,
Yeah.
we can actually achieve a lot more than we think.
Wow. Yeah. That's a powerful thought.
It is.
And on that note, I think we should all take a moment of silence.
Yes, let's all reflect on the power of saying less.
Okay, until next time, everybody.